Physically, same. You know, you have obviously the older you get, you can take a AAA player and a major league player and have the same, pretty much similar tools, similar strengths, and all that. Major league players usually have probably confidence. You know, I think one of the things with major league players is they usually have a history. They might have more history than a AAA player in terms of success, and they're able to feed off that. Major league players usually have short-term memories. That's probably a strength of a major league player. If you have 3 strikeouts, I saw Derek Jeter strike out in a game. I don't want to say 5. It might have been 4. I think it was 5 against Curt Schilling. After the game, you wouldn't have known he struck out 5 times. And I'm thinking, geez, if I struck out 5 times a game, I don't know if I want to play anymore. But obviously, this guy's a Hall of Famer. So for him, hey, he had a bad game, and he put him behind him. The rest of the series, he had a good series.
Yeah, sure.
So I think that's huge in players at the major league level. I think that they're able to make the adjustments day to day, pitch to pitch. They're able to. We talked about the madness. They're able to filter that out and still be able to perform.
What do you think the key characteristics, I suppose it's sort of the same line of questioning, but what do you think the key characteristics, qualities and skills, aside from the physical stuff, what do you think they are in those that are really successful?
Probably confidence is humongous. I mean, I think if you see a major league game and you see a minor league game and you don't know, you'll probably find close to as many players physically you'll see on the field and skill wise that you go, oh, geez, that guy should be able to play up there, or geez, why is he not in the big leagues? And then you take the big league player, and physically he might not look strong, he might not have the athleticism, all these types of things, and you talk to him, and he's the best player in the world in his mind. He is extremely self-confident. I don't think I've met too many guys that played at the major league level that weren't extremely self-confident. You have to have that belief in yourself that you're at that level for a reason, and most guys, that's a big separator from minor league to big leagues. You can get guys that are good that make it up and they think they're good and they don't stick. And then you take a guy that has less talent that knows he's good, doesn't think he's good, he knows he's good, and he's able to take that energy and confidence and he translate it into productivity. I think that's big. We talked about short-term memory, because it is a grind, it's a daily thing.
Yeah.
You have to have a short-term memory, good or bad. If I get 3 hits, I can't sit there and be so happy that my 4th at bat doesn't count, because my 4th at bat might be the chance to win the game.
Yeah, sure.
And if I get 3 hits and strike out to end the game, the time down second, the reporter's not going to talk about your 3 hits. They're going to say, why don't you strike out to end the game? Or do you think your game would have been complete? So the questioning you will get will be more along the lines of to make you think that, or realize that last AB is actually more important possibly than those first 3.
Yeah, sure.
So I think short-term memory is important. I think to be able to adapt to different environments, you go from a locker room where you might be the AAA star to now you're going to a team where not only you're not the star, but you're not even playing, you're on the bench.
Yeah.
So now you have to figure out what does it take for a bench player to, what do I need to do in order to get ready to play in the game. Most guys that play at the major league level are not bench players in the minor leagues. They're everyday players. They hit 3rd, they hit 4th. Now you go to the big leagues and you're hitting 8th, or you're sitting on the bench. So you have to usually find someone in a hurry that does that job that you do and try to figure out either by asking or watching how they prepare, and all this stuff has to be learned on the fly. You don't have the luxury of necessarily a coaching staff telling you, don't worry, you got a whole year here. No, they're usually, all right, what are you going to do today? Because if you don't do it, we got 5 guys in AAA that are ready to come up tomorrow if you don't perform. So you have to be able to adapt to whatever environment you're in. You have to getting traded to different teams. You're trying to learn people on the fly as well as still perform. We're in a performance-based job, but you forget about the human element that, well, it's a lot easier to perform in a job if I feel comfortable in my environment, obviously. That's why I think you have players that like staying with certain teams for a long time, because you're familiar with everything that goes to do with the city, the coaching staff, the field, the locker room. All those things are so important that we learn from childhood, and then all of a sudden now you're here on Monday and you get traded on Tuesday, and then you get to sit down, and then now you're on a bus, and all these things that you're going through have nothing to do with playing on the field. The field stuff, you haven't even hit or anything, so now you got to deal with all that stuff as well. So I think you have to be able to adapt. Obviously, at the major league level, work ethic. You know, you have to have the mindset that you're going to, you know, be a good worker because you want to stay. You know, and most of the guys I've seen at the major league level are good workers. You have a few, and usually the ones that aren't good workers either don't stay, or in some cases they're extremely talented. And you go, gee, okay, he's just better than everyone. So that's why he's up here. He's just far more talented than everyone. So he might not have to put in the same work I have to put in order to stay here. And you know, that is what it is. So work ethic's important. Ownership of your performance, I think, is important. You know, you have to be accountable. You know, you're going to be interviewed after the games. You know, you have to be accessible to the media. I think it can be easier for players if you do show that early in your career, whether your career is 15 years or 15 weeks, that you are accountable for whatever happens that you're doing on the field. You know, if you make an error, then after the game, they didn't interview you when you got 3 hits, but you make the error and it's important, and you got 15 guys around your locker want to talk. That's part of the game. And you have to recognize that early on and be able to deal with it. Those are things, like I said, there's so many little things that go with playing in the major leagues that have not as much to do with on the field stuff that affect you to how you perform on the field. So I probably a couple more usually players that play at the major leagues, visualization I think is important. I always think that a lot of the plays that we see with guys, you know, a guy makes a backhand play in the hole, or, you know, makes a play spin and throw, they've already visualized that. They've already either seen someone else do it and visually said, okay, how do I figure that out? Or what they've done is visualized it and then took it out, and they're in BP. Guys, hey, hit me something to my left, and so let me work on it. The fans, a lot of times, are what you see on TV or at the game, we get the finished product as fans. Oh man, you see that play he made? Well, we didn't see for 2 weeks. He's been fooling around trying that in BP, and then bam, it happens in the game, and we're like, oh, that guy's an incredible athlete. How did he do that? Usually he visualized it, and then he was able to do it after doing some sort of repetition. You know, the guys that I've played with or seen, I'd watch them. They tinker with different, you'd have the middle infielders. Ozzie Smith used to do it, where he'd do field and throw around his back. Yeah. Well, I saw Ozzie in BP, and he'd fool around and do it in BP. So he did in the game, whatever, 15 years before I saw him play in person. But it was something I'm sure he had practiced. I don't think he just decided, well, let me go ahead and try this in a game. Usually guys have already attempted a Derek Jeter's jump and throw. That's something that he worked on. It didn't just come to him one day. I think he either saw it in his mind or saw someone else do it. And then, you know, you take it and you tweak it and you know, make it your own if you can.